Things are finally settling down in Alabama. We'll take a look at just how messy things got last week, plus what happens next. And Justice Ginsburg makes some pretty candid predictions about the Supreme Court's upcoming marriage decisions. For the American Foundation for Equal Rights, I'm Matt Baum, and welcome to Marriage News Watch for February 16th, 2015. Later this year is the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act of 1965. 50 years ago, Alabama officials violently resisted calls for civil rights, and apparently the state of Alabama is still figuring out this whole equality thing. Well, last week saw a lot of back and forth on marriage, with some counties issuing licenses and others refusing. Couples had to wait in line for days at some courthouses just to find out if they could get married. Now things are finally starting to stabilize. So is marriage equality finally legal in Alabama? The answer is kind of. Marriage was supposed to start on Monday. There's really no valid legal reason why it couldn't, so Alabama Supreme Court Chief Justice Roy Moore got creative and found a not quite legally sound way to, if not stop marriage, at least confuse everyone and delay it for a while. He told all of the judges in the state that they weren't allowed to let gay and lesbian couples get married, and if they did, they'd be punished. Somehow. So that's why the state was in such a mess last week. Some judges went ahead and issued licenses anyway. They weren't punished. Others started turning away gay and lesbian couples, and almost a third of the state's counties stopped issuing licenses to all couples, gay and straight, which was just a pain in the neck for everyone. Then, late in the week, District Court Judge Callie Grenade issued a new ruling that basically boiled down to everybody stop messing around. She ruled that the judges have to issue those licenses, and now pretty much everyone is complying. But we're still not out of the woods yet. The Alabama case is still on appeal, so the pro-equality ruling could potentially be reversed. And don't forget, Judge Moore has already demonstrated that he's willing to bend the law to get his way, so he might have more surprises in store, and he might even try to defy the U.S. Supreme Court when they rule on the issue in a few months. Speaking of which, it's looking better and better for a pro-equality ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court this spring. Last week, 7 of the 9 justices ruled that marriage equality could start in Alabama during the appeal. Scalia and Thomas were the only ones who dissented. This might mean that the 7 other justices have already made up their minds that they're going to overturn those bans. And in an interview last week, Justice Ginsburg said that the country is ready for marriage equality. "I think it's doubtful that it wouldn't be accepted," she said. "The change in people's attitude has been enormous." Finally, let's just take a moment to appreciate District Court Judge Callie Grenade. She's the one who issued the ruling in Alabama that the state's marriage ban is unconstitutional, and then had to issue follow-up rulings to state officials telling them essentially, yes, this means you. Her grandfather was Fifth Circuit Judge Robert Reeves. In 1956, Reeves wrote the decision in a case that found segregated busing to be unconstitutional. Social justice just runs in the family. Those are the headlines. Subscribe here on YouTube to stay up to date on all these cases. For the American Foundation for Equal Rights, I'm Matt Baum. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.